the years. So just to let you know, we are going to be recording this. So if you do need to go back and refresh your memory at a period of time, you will be able to do so. All right, I'm going to kick off by sharing my screen on Xero, if I can make sure we got it there. Yeah, to this. Okay. All right, so the first thing that I do want to do today is just to take you through some of the menus. If you do have any questions as we go along, can I ask you to please just pop them in the chat? And then if there is anything that you sort of want to stop me at that point in time, perhaps just raise your hand and hopefully I'll be able to see that and we can monitor all of that as we go along. All right, so the first area that I want to have a look at is just to take you through the different settings menus that are in Xero, just that you understand them and know what they do. So if you click on your drop-down menu, you'll see File, Settings, etc. So this is your basic screen. Obviously, very important to make sure that your organizational details are complete. This will be what the name is, uploading logos. This is obviously what will be used in your standard invoices that you send out, type of business that you're in, organizational type, business numbers. So all of this information will then pull through to other areas in Xero, but most particularly on your statements and on the invoices that go out to your customers. So that's always my first go-to place. For users, so I just want to run through users a little bit, that everyone does understand what the different roles are on the users. So your users that are added here would be either someone that you set up, or perhaps if we have set Xero up for you, who we've invited or added on. So if we click on invite user, you will need the person's name and surname, and then any email addresses that may be needed. Projects, we're not going to deal with projects today. That will hopefully be in a later session, but the area that you'll be then looking at is your business and accounting. So they've got, I want to say, relatively limited rights. So if you had to compare this to a Sage 1 or Pastel, the rights in those platforms or programs are a little bit more robust. This is something that we are dealing with or have raised with Xero, and hopefully in the future we'll get this right. But you may have someone that you only want to give invoicing functionality to. So they could create a draft, do sales invoices, purchases, and then approve and pay. So you'll see the minute that we click on purchases, this is where you can add or edit details for the customers and suppliers. You could also allow them to approve and pay. Nothing else would be available. The user will be able to see some information on the dashboard, but they won't be able to see the bank account, as an example. I know that sometimes is quite a concern. Your standard user, this is your next level up. They can do sales and purchases, they can deal with bank accounts, they can do bank account admin, and you can then give them an option to either view or run reports, and then also to view to invite users or edit the user settings. The advisor is basically the full house, so they would be able to do everything. And then read only is someone who perhaps there's a director that you would like just to have sight of it, but not to go and do anything on the accounts, or even your accountants. You would then select the read only mode. So they literally can only read information. They can't do anything with it. So those are the users under the organization settings. Also important is to have a look at the invoice settings. So your invoice settings is when you then start to have a look at your, I want to say, your theme in a way. So we have a couple of clients that have different divisions within their businesses, and with that, so I'm just going to ask everyone to mute, please. then so they may want to then send out an invoice from a different division within the business. So with that, you can then create a different branding theme. You could then have a different logo. So perhaps I want to have a logo here. I know I had some different ones. So maybe I wanted to use that logo on this theme. And then on this theme, I wanted to use a different logo. And we'll go with black and white. So just to give you a bit of an example that you can have those different themes, you can also then, if you want to go and, I want to say, move or change the statement or invoice look and feel, you can then use the Xero. They have got a pack. You can then go edit that pack and change how your look and feel could be a little bit there as well, and then upload that as into a branding theme. So that can be done under your settings. Another important area, payment services. So payment services, if you, for example, use SnapScan or use a payment service that has a URL, you can add that onto your payment services. That is great because then on your invoice, it will actually show that you have got a payment functionality. The user can, or the data, sorry, can then click on that and they can then make the payment. So you'll see here custom URL. So that would be your possibly Ozo, SnapScan. I think Yoko could probably also work on that if you have those. All right, then I just want to touch a little bit on the 0 to 0 services over here. So this is a really nice functionality when you are engaging with a lot of Xero users. So if perhaps a supplier of yours says, oh, well, we on Xero, can you send me your key? Or you can say, I see you on Xero, here's my key. You can then share this one. So this is the organization. This is the entity's own personal one. So the reason why I want to just highlight this is that when invoices are being sent from a Xero user to a Xero user, and this has been copied and put in place, the invoices will go directly into that user's Xero entity, which is a really nice functionality. Just makes things a lot easier. I'll show you how it works a little bit later on, but for me, it's a great little function tool to have. Under the advanced settings, so this is where I do want to spend a little bit of time this morning. Your financial settings, very important, is obviously to set your financial year over here. So if it is February, happy with that. Your VAT will be set here. So if we're on an accrual basis, I don't think there is one that is still on a cash basis. You would then have your VAT number going in, and then you would say, what is your VAT period? Is it monthly, bi-monthly, annually, 6 monthly, whichever one it is? Then most entities would be on 2 monthly. Obviously, there are some that are on monthly as well. You can then set your tax defaults. Do you want to show the amount is tax exclusive or inclusive or with no VAT? I would say rather leave it as tax exclusive because that is usually what you're working on. The invoice will then calculate the VAT on that. Another important place, so I know a lot of people always say, but Sue, how do you ever do a year-end close in Xero? You don't. Xero is a live system. So Xero literally goes from day to day to day to day. But what you do need to do is go and lock dates for a period. So this tells people that they cannot go and process anything in a prior period. So once we have reached our February year end, I would say, please don't make any changes to February 28th of February 2023. If I have completed, let's say, my months to June, I can then lock users there. So you can't then go and add any invoices into that period. You can't go do any journals. For you to do that, you'd have to have the advisor user go and unlock that, and it then that will allow you then to do that. I will again to show you how that works a little bit later on. So sticking in the advanced settings, chart of accounts. So this, I think for me, is a great area to go, especially when you're setting up your chart of accounts. I know that when conversions happen, so particularly where conversions have happened from Sage 1, as an example, coming into Xero, your account codes don't exist. They come up with these 9 things because Sage 1 doesn't work on account codes as we are used to. Sometimes we want to say, oh, we would rather like to change things a bit differently, not happy where a grouping is. What is really nice on Xero is that you can go and change your account type. So perhaps we don't want to classify this as other income, but we want to classify that as revenue. It will let you know it's going to change all your reports, published reports. You can also then go and add on, change your code, add on description. And what's also very important is to change your VAT code because we aren't on 14% anymore. While I'm in the chart of accounts, if there is an account that you do want to track, so for example, you want to know what, if you've got the budgeting and you want to see how it's doing, you can add that on your dashboard, and then expense claims. Now, I'm not going to worry about that today, but the dashboard watch list is a great little tool to click on over there, and I'm going to then say save. So you see that over here that I've got all my accounts that are sitting with 0% VAT. I don't want to go in and change everyone. I don't want to have to go open everyone up and then go and change that to whatever rate I need to change it to. So again, a very nice little tool that you have. I'm just going to start on revenue. I'm just going to select all of these, take off interest and dividends. Okay, you should be good there. And I'm going to click on change rate. So when you click on change rate, that will then allow you to change it to the VAT rate that you want it to be at. And you click save. It will then update all of that. So there may be some accounts that have come through and are sitting at 14%. Perhaps you on your assets, it's still showing as maybe purchases, but you actually want that to be, I'll give an example there. So if we change rate on these ones, we actually want these to be on fixed assets. So the reason why I'm saying this is quite an important one to standard rate capital purchase capital goods, important to set up is because in Xero, they have the VAT 201 report, which looks exactly like the VAT 201 that goes to SARS. So you want to make sure that your VAT categories are set up correctly, that your VAT report can run well and run nicely. So that is busy saving. Then under your chart of accounts, you can also add your bank account. So I'm going to do a quick add over here. And I'm going to say that this is with Standard Bank. And you are able then to do your connect your bank feeds. So the bank feeds are really great features, and it's a super efficient feature to have. Probably Standard Bank wasn't the best one to have chosen because they are a little bit difficult when you've got your business banking profile versus your normal online banking profile. But you can then set that up. I just want to show you what it looks. So Xero uses an app, an API with Yodlee. So Yodlee connects to your bank and pulls down transactions into Xero. It will never push anything back into Xero. So as you can see here, we would then need to sign in and do what we need to do. So I'm just actually going to go back and skip this one, that we can have a bank account, because I want to show you how to import as well a bit later on this morning. Okay. Save and continue. All right, so very pretty much everything. If, for example, you have got a very brand new set of Xero accounts and you haven't done anything, you are able to import a trial balance. You are then able to set up opening balances as well. But that is something, I'm happy to help you with if you are at that stage. But I think most of our users today have already got everything in place. So I'm not going to go into too much of that. All right. So as I mentioned to you, the VAT is very, very important to set up the VAT codes correctly. I'm just going to jump into the VAT report. So this is the first time that we are running the VAT report, and this is what will happen when you do set this up as well. You will then need to set your VAT period. So again, if you need to go back into financial settings to set anything up over there, I will save and go to my returns. And you'll see now that I have my first VAT period. Again, you can go assign tax fields directly from here. You can say where this belongs to, if anything, but that should all be set up already. And then you'll see over here on the VAT 1, it says e-filing is now available. So this is a super functionality that Xero has brought in. They were the first of the platforms to do so. You can actually go and set up that you can submit your VAT return directly from Xero through to SARS e-filing. They use Cloud Converts to do the process. So please don't do this on the last day of the month because then it's not going to happen. So you do need to complete your VAT return a few days before. There is certain information that does need to be set up and put in. And there is also information that you need from your SARS e-filing profile that will need to be submitted, but you can then go and submit your VAT return directly to SARS. Once it's been submitted, you'll get a notification that says filed over here. Once you have got that, you can then go into SARS e-filing and do the payment directly. You don't need to go capture. So the whole idea behind this was to take away those errors that creep in when we are capturing returns manually. Okay. All right. So I haven't touched on the top setting or top little tabs over here. Dashboard. This does take you then to your overview of the business. So you've got your bank accounts. You can then also see how your cash is doing and the account watch list. So as I mentioned to you under the chart of accounts, I have added this to my watch list because I want to see how this goes. You can then add a budget in and we'll then compare how we're doing to budget. It then also shows you invoices that you owe or owe to you and invoices that you will owe. The business takes you through to your analytics, which just gives you a very quick snapshot of the business, your revenue invoices, your payable invoices, quotes as well that can be done, purchase orders, and then these expense claims, product services. These ones don't really get used much by us. The accounting, this will then take you to your reports. So you'll see where there's a star under the reports, that's where it then appears as a favorite. So if I take us into the reports, you'll be able to see all the different reports. And what's very nice is they've grouped them now into categories just to make it a little bit easier. So if there's something that you want to see on a regular basis, you can then just start. So maybe I want to see my business performance, perhaps. So the minute I do that, that will then come up under my favorites list over here. Contacts, these will be for your customers and suppliers. I will take you through setting up a contact as well, because that's very, very important. So if we want to go and set up a new contact, let's minimize here. At the top of the screen, there is a new contact button. And again, it's very important to include all the information. Account number, you can assign account numbers if you need to. If there's any other person that might need to get information, you could add that person as well. Website, if they have a website, company number, notes, addresses, if there's a billing address that needs to be done. You would then include all of that. Delivery address, obviously very important. Financial details. So this is more under your suppliers that you do actually want to have the financial details of the bank account, because that will then also enable the next payment process that can be done, but we'll cover that in another session. And then your tax ID number would then be the VAT number. So you want that to be included. And then under your default settings, you can then say, well, for this person, we would potentially do professional fees. The due date is the 7th date of the invoice. They are tax exclusive. Discount, if there is any discount, and credit limit. So you can say, we don't want this person to be invoiced or have anything when they've reached their credit limit. A branding theme, maybe we want to do cloud. And then over here, so that network key that I spoke about earlier on, this would then be the customer's network key. So you wouldn't put your one in, you would put the customer's one in. And once that is done, you would then save and close. So we have now another person, another contact that's in here. All right, so once we've got our contacts, and then similarly you would do the same for your supplier. So same, but different. What's very nice is you can also create smart lists. You can create groups. So maybe you've got, if I had a cloud accounting group as an example, I could then select them and add them to that group. Your smart list would be if anything is overdue by a certain period of time, have purchased, not purchased, it just helps you to check. You can then also go and build on these as well. All right. So discount rate for customers, Narishka just asked, I'm just going to quickly go back into that. So yes, so when you are editing or inserting your customer, and under your details, sorry, sales details over here, your discount rate you could then set up. So maybe you give them a 10% discount upfront. I'll then show you how that looks like on an invoice as well. All right, so let's go into our dashboard. So ideally, we would obviously like you to set up your bank feeds, because that is the best way to get real live data coming into your bank accounts. If we then can't do that, you can then import a statement. So most of the bank accounts, or pretty much all banks allows you to import or download a CSV file. Some of them do you'll see OFX file. Some of them may be OQFX. I know with NetBank Business, we use the OFX file, but the CSV file still for me is quite the user-friendly one. I'm just going to go on to here. And I've selected a file, and now it's been a little bit smaller. Next, there we go. All right, so when you've got that, the Xero again reads the date as being the date, description column where it is, the amount column goes to the amount, and if you've got a total column, you leave that blank. If, for example, you've got another column that may have, I don't know, additional information, there are other fields that can be assigned. Maybe you want it to be as a reference or payee or whatever it is, but those are the stock standard ones. We then go next, and there must be a way to do all of that. I need to move this guy here. Complete import. So now it looks a little bit overwhelming because we have a huge amount of transactions to reconcile. I'm going to do in another session just how to do different ways of doing that. But again, this is just showing you that all the transactions now have been imported, which need to be dealt with. So a lesson for another day is great ways, quick ways, efficient ways to then go and reconcile your bank accounts by using, for example, the rules that can be put in place, cash coding, etc. All right. Good. I see we've got another question. I just want to pop in here. Okay, cool. Thanks, Navishka. Perfect. I'm going to jump into the invoices just so that we can see how we can set all of these up. So you'll see I've already got one over here, which has been sent. I want to now do a new invoice. And I'm going to do, so this is on the new view. I must say for me, it's not my preference. I prefer the old invoice view, which looks like that. But again, you can choose whichever one you prefer and that you are comfortable with. So important, you'll see here, we've got a date, what the due date is based on the setting. So it is 7 days after the invoice. I'm going to put in a reference over here. Now you'll see here it says add last item. So when you invoice a customer on a regular basis, and if it is similar services or products that you are invoicing that customer to, you can then click on the add last item. It will then literally add the line or lines that you used the last time. If you wanted to give them a discount now because they're just so super cool, we can do that. And you'll see here that the VAT has been calculated. And it tells you that there's an amount over there. I'm now going to approve this. Now, you'll see over here, it's got this little infinity thing. So what that means is that this user already has had a 0 to 0 code set up. So if I go send, it will say you can send this invoice with discounts via Xero Network. You can include a PDF attachment. So I always like to include the PDF attachment because some of the users, when they get their emails, they don't click on the link to go and view it online. But the PDF is included, you know they definitely will have a look at it and see it. So I'm going to say send. And I'm going to quickly jump into the other user. And hopefully as quickly as that, not quite, it will come through here shortly as a bill. In theory, it did work. Okay. Just jump back here quickly. Shouldn't have had to send via there. While they're still thinking a little bit over there, I'm going to just jump into the email. And you'll see that over here, we have got the invoice. The invoice is attached. I can go have a look at it online as well. So as the user or the recipient of this, I could then always ask a question. I could download it if I need to. And then they've also got the option here to log in and save as a bill. So that could be done as well. Okay, that's just now coming through to that. All right, I'm just going to go back over here. If I go send via Xero Network, let me just try this one. It should have sent it anyway. Let's try it again. All right, I'm just going to quickly hop into these invoices in the meantime. So you'll have a look here. You'll see over here it said sent, and here it said viewed. So what is really important about that is that, you know, sometimes customers say, oh, I never received your invoice, but you can actually see that they viewed the invoice. So, but you have seen it, it is there. All right, well, let's talk about when you need to have, when will you be able to pay me? So you've had a conversation with the client and they've confirmed, will pay by. Spoke to Susan, expected payment by the 14th. You can then keep track of different discussions that you've had. You've then got an expected date, and that expected date is what is also going to help your cash flow reports as to when you will be receiving information. You'll see over here that there's also the invoice reminders on. This one we should be able to see here, so you'll see that's also gone through there. You can share the invoice again, you can send it again, you can download a PDF for them if it's needed. If I then go on to the other invoice that we had, apologies for that, you'll now see over here that there's a history. I've also got at the bottom a note as to when we're going to be expecting payment. So any document that you do have in Xero will have this history attached to it, so you can see who's done what, any notes that were added, etc. With invoices, you can also potentially add a credit note. So maybe that first one that we had actually needs to have a credit note. You can either open it up, add credit note, for the amount, approve. Okay. This one, I'll quickly go back to our invoices and create a new one from here. We spoke about the branding themes. You can choose the different branding themes that you have over here. So again, depending on which division that you want to send it from. Also just want to show you over here that you can have repeating invoices. So if you've got a monthly retainer with someone, you would then say how many months, maybe it is a 12-month retainer. It needs to be on the 5th of the following month. We won't have an invoice. We are going to send this to Susan. We want this to be our Xero Heroes. And this will be maybe this will be a consulting fee. That will then save. And then each month, as you hit each month, we want to save this as a draft. So this is quite important. I quite like, if I'm doing repeating invoices, I like to save it as a draft rather than approving it or approve for sending, because just want to go in and check and make sure that everything's ready. Obviously you do then just need to go in every month and make sure that your repeating invoice is there. So it will then create a draft when you hit that time in the month. It will then pop into your draft invoices. There we go. And now I know that I need to send this out. Happy, all the information's there, and approve, and away we go. So it's not going to be in my draft anymore because we're not that time of the month, but it will then say that we still have got our repeating invoices on this side. Okay. All right. Then another area that is very useful on Xero are the file settings. So you are able to upload, email, different documents straight into Xero. So if you wanted to have your lease agreements, perhaps you can create a folder and say lease agreement. Perhaps you want to have a folder that has got your monthly retainer agreements. Whatever you feel. Perhaps you want to have bank statements. You can then upload, literally drag and drop. So if I had to take a file from here and drop that in, that would then be in my monthly retainer. What I like about this is that if you want to then go and attach this to a document of an invoice or a bill at a later stage, you can then go do that as well. You'll also note that there is an email address. So this email address you could then save as a contact, and whenever you get a document in, you could then forward that directly. So if I go over here, I do just need to go back and copy it. Copy email address. And perhaps I want to just forward this. And hopefully this email process will work a little bit better today. We'll come back. Let me just check here. There we go. So you'll see that we now have the information that's been received. I can then just delete that one because I know that's an image. And there's the actual invoice. I can then move this to the monthly retainer file if that's where that it needs to go to. And you can see that's how it came in. So again, a very useful functionality. If I then go back to my invoices, and perhaps on this invoice here, I want to attach a document. I'll say, fine, I want to add this from library. It is that one that needs to be added. So anyone that is then goes into this invoice can then review it and see what had been attached, uploaded, what it related to. So again, I think quite a cool function to have in Xero. My last area that I want to go through today is just setting up HubDoc. So HubDoc is a free app that is part of Xero. It is owned by Xero. I'm just going to set this up if it allows me to do so. It won't allow me to do so. I cannot tell you. This is when the gremlins creep in. I'm the wrong person. All right, give me 2 seconds. I just need to jump back to here. My user rights on that are not where it needs to be. So again, if you need help with setting up HubDoc, please just let us know if you haven't set it up already. But it literally will be a case of setting up our HubDoc, logging into our account. You can put literally any email address in, it's not really relevant. Xero. But what I like about HubDoc is just the AI tools that comes behind it. It really does learn so much about it really does learn so much about the user experience, reading the documentation. You can really get to a point where you can publish directly from HubDoc into Xero. That's what I really like about it there. You can even upload it on your phone. So I would definitely recommend for those that are especially have got people or users, staff members that are possibly putting in petrol and have got all these petrol slips or buying stuff with petty cash. they can have the app on their phone, take the photo, and then that will be pushed through to HubDoc. For me, it is really cool to have that functionality. So there are just a couple of things I do want to show you in HubDoc. So under your settings, your organization, first thing you always do is just change this into Xero. Again, you'll see there is an email address, so you can email documents into HubDoc, or you can drag and drop them into HubDoc, or take a photo if it's on your app. So I do try and make these a little bit shorter. The next thing that we need to do is have a look at our users. So this is where you would then go invite a user. So I will say, go. Your first one option, and this is where you would probably use for the guys that are just uploading documents as they were driving around and taking photos, possibly. They would be able to upload and view documents. I wouldn't give them the ability to publish documents. You still want to have some kind of control as to where it needs to go to. Your standard user, pretty much everything except manage users. You could also change this person to a read-only user. So all they want to be able to do is to view documents that are sitting in HubDoc. Then your accountant bookkeeper has all the functionality, all happy, no problem with that. Integrations. So you'll see here, this is where your Xero integration sits. If you want to, for whatever reason, disconnect it, you can, but we're not going to worry about that today. So I'm going to just save the changes. Okay. So as an example, I'm just going to drop a couple of invoices in, just so that we can see how this works. So you'll see here we've got our first 4 invoices. But as you know, I haven't done anything. I haven't clicked on anything. It's literally just started to do its own little bit over here. So the first thing we'll see here is that it read the supplier's name as Instinct Systems. Happy with that. It found the invoice number. It found the date. The amount, not quite correct. So we will then just go and edit that to be 94273. And then we can then go and say, how do we want this to be saved? Do we want this to be a purchase, so a bill, or do we want to show this directly as spend money? There are options of customer invoice and credit notes coming in future, or the customer invoices, the credit notes are there. They are working quite nicely, but for now we're going to say we want this to be a purchase, so a bill. We want to save it as a draft, because perhaps someone else in the business then needs to go and review it before they go and approve it for payment. Contact. So we don't have this contact yet, so we are going to create it. And once you've done it once, it'll be there. The account code. We'll put this one to advertising. And then you'll see that there's something here that says customer. So I'm going to get back to that on the, oh, we can do it on anyone. But the whole idea here is that we want to say, actually, I need to charge my customer for this. And I'll show you on the invoices how this works. And then we're going to go marketing. I'm going to publish that. You'll see it's publishing, auto syncing. Now, if I go into my next Instinct Systems one, which we can see that again, amount's not 100% correct. And below here, this is already pre-populated. This is based on my last invoice. So if we're happy with everything, we can then go publish. So where would you use the option? I'm just sort of thinking here, where would you use the option of changing this to spend money? I would say when you've got the guys that are uploading their credit card slips, because they spent the money, it's gone off the credit card. You would then say that's where it goes to, and you would then choose the bank. So you would have a credit card bank account, or maybe it's a debit card that goes directly off your bank account. You will then select that as, I'm just going to add this on here. I'm going to show you how this works and what it looks like on the flip side. Wait, career. 50, all happy with that, and I'm going to publish that. Okay, so we see we have a problem here. It says that this invoice date was before a lock date. So I'm just going to change this to current that we can get it through. So some it's really not happy. Okay, then I had to go and unlock over here. Sorry about that. A bit random in dates. We go back here. We should now be able to publish. Okay, there we go. Happy days. All right, so let me just quickly jump into the bank because I want to show you where that spend money comes through. So you'll see here we've got a balance in Xero of 218. So that means it's a transaction in Xero, but not on our bank statement. So if we then have a look here, we have got this amount that's in, so it's in Xero. It hasn't come through our bank statement. We haven't been able to reconcile it yet. You'll see here, if I open up the transaction, it's got all the details that we had from HubDoc. You could then jump again to HubDoc to go have a look at the details. If you click on that, you'll then be able to see the actual invoice that was then attached to the documentation. I'm going to jump into bills quickly. So in bills, here we go. I have got a couple of them over here. We'll deal with you later. So I'm having a look at it. Yes, I'm happy. I can see the invoice. Yes, I'm agree. So as the approver, I can do that. And now I've got the opportunity to say, I want to assign this expense to the customer. And we'll see what that's going to do shortly. I'm going to approve this. Okay, and now that is going to be ready for payment. So when the payment comes through on the bank side, it will then be matched against that transaction. I'm now going to go into my sales. And you will hopefully see here, my container. Okay. If I now go on to this invoice, so that was on my retainer. I go on to new invoice. And say me. And it's not doing what I needed to do. It should have given me the option to then bill directly from my bill. So let me just go back into my bills. I will try another one. So have a look here. Let's go back into the, sorry about that. There we go. I think I missed out that assign step earlier on. All right. Okay. So here at the top, you'll see here, create invoice for billable expense. So now I can see that actually, hold on, I've got 2 bill expenses that must be added. Yes, add items. And we would then go recoveries. We don't have, I'm just going to pop it in there. Let's not worry about the detail, but it is a recovery account, and that will then be approved. Well, again, it's a really nice tool to have that you can then, if you've got to recover any costs or things like that, you can then add them on as a billable expense. All right. So from my side, that is what I had on my agenda. I am going to stop sharing my screen. And if there is anyone that does want to ask any questions or make any comments at this point in time, please feel free to do so. We will also, what we can also do is let me know of any other items you would like to see in future topics. We will hopefully do this on a monthly basis, and more people will join and learn a lot more about Xero. So if there is anything else, please do let me know, and you're welcome to either raise your hand or pop a question in the chat. Anything from anyone? Good. All right. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate the time that you spent with us this morning. I'm looking forward to future sessions with you and some of the other team also presenting. And I hope you have a lovely Friday. Stay well, stay safe, and we will hopefully see you very soon. Take care and have a great weekend. Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.